name is Eric Cook. I work in the telemetry unit here at Alta Bates Hospital, and this is our fourth strike here at Bates Hospital. Basically, we've had no movement on the negotiations since I talked to you in last Christmas, and basically we haven't had any movement since last May. This is our 13th month negotiating with Sutter. Most of the Sutter hospitals have not settled. We've had two of the smaller outlying hospitals that have settled with no takeaways. However, they've remained intransigent here and at the other hospitals, Eden, Delta, and CPMC, as you know, has just started negotiating again after a 4-year hiatus. So it's been pretty rough for us here.
So it seems like they're taking a hard line, and these one-day strikes don't seem to be working.
Well, right now, we know that they are affecting them. They're flying in, many of their nurses that are coming in from Alabama. At this facility especially, they seem to get most of their replacement nurses from Alabama, from an agency.
Are they licensed in California?
That's a key that we've asked to look into.
Well,
they say they are.
What's he done?
Well, that's been an appeal to Jerry Brown right now.
What's he done about it?
Nothing yet. So we're hoping that now the state has come in, but we don't know the results of their investigating whether these people have licensures or not.
But isn't that a requirement of state law?
It is a requirement.
Yeah, well, why hasn't Governor Brown been in here investigating whether they have licenses in California?
Well, one of the things we've done is we've actually filed labor charges against them, and as you know, the wheels of labor move very slow, and they're just now making a settlement on the charges that we filed last September on our first strike. So, as you know, by the time we get results from that September, we still then have the December strike that they'll have to look at. So it's very slow to get things done through the bureaucracy.
Isn't it a crime to work without a license as a doctor in California?
Well, as a nurse, yes, it is, and as a doctor, of course, too.
And what about the district attorney? I mean, are they investigating?
Well, I know, for example, many of us have sent things to Kamala Harris about some of the things that are going on here. Of course, we sent them to the Board of Health and the state also. The state was here at the last strike investigating handoffs if the nurses were, as you know, Alta Bates was not wanting us to see the replacement / scab nurses, so they would have us write reports and leave. And when the state found out about it, they actually came in to see at the next strike if this was going on. And of course the hospital found out about it, and of course the replacement nurses had to be seen because there has to be an actual physical handoff per law. Now this time again there was no state here, and I heard there was no physical handoff. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes here.
So you talked to Kamala Harris. What did she say when you talked to her?
We sent letters. We have gotten no responses yet.
Wasn't she elected with labor support?
She was elected with labor support, as was Jerry Brown. The thing is, we haven't seen any involvement from really any politicians. And frankly, I think in the end, I don't know if we can put much faith in any politician. In the end, it's going to be us. We're going to have to be the ones that settle this contract. It's going to have to be every nurse on the line here. And we do have a great compliance rate of nurses not going into the hospital.
Well, this one-day strike, you think that they're just trying to wait you out, starve you out, or just they think they can get away with it if it's only one day?
Well, you know, it's not really one day. We asked for a one-day strike, as you know, and we're locked out for 4 more.
Okay.
So even though they're struggling with it, and we know we've seen the emails that went between the doctors and administration and back and forth, they claim that everything went smoothly. We saw the emails; they were not smooth. I've never really seen or heard doctors be that disrespectful to each other, but I sure saw it in the emails. I've never seen that kind of vulgarity since I've left the Navy. So there was a lot of anger about having these replacement nurses here. In fact, one of the doctors said, end this lockout, bring back the real nurses. These people are going to kill people. So there was a lot of frightening, close incidences that happened here.
Now, is this a sanctioned strike?
This is a sanctioned strike. We have we gave them a 10-day notice. Actually, we gave them 12 days because we gave it to them on a Friday. So they had an extra 2 days to prepare. Wasn't our intention to give them extra help, but we wanted to make sure they didn't try to do anything sneaky. So we gave them a 12-day notice that we were going to be out here striking.
And what about UHW, SEIU here?
Well, we didn't really.
You?
We did not get any response or help from them.
Did you ask for them to help you?
Well, we've asked, but I know they have their own issues. We did have some NUHW people that were out here, but we did not have any.
So there are union people still working in the hospital?
There are some union people in that hospital.
What about stationary engineers?
You know, we did tell them, but they did not come out here.
Not a good sign.
Not a good sign, no. They should be out there with us. But I have to say, as an individual, we have had many of the SEIU people support us individually. Though the union as a whole, I used to be a member of Local 250 before I became a registered nurse. But individually, there has been some good support for us.
Now, these executives are making millions of dollars.
Yes, we just got the latest. As you know, the tax documents are released always a year later. For example, we won't find out what they made in 2011 until the end of 2012. So we have their 2011 statements now, and we know that Pat Fry, the CEO, he has $4.7 million in salary and compensation. The HR people up to $500,000. Most of the CEOs, the former gentleman who used to be here, David Bradley, he was the head of Marin, and as you know, he was when Marin Marin Hospital said we can't take Sutter anymore. They left. He transferred with Chuck Prosper, who's now the CEO here, about $120 million.
So that's when they're turning away people for care? People aren't be able to get care, they come to the hospital?
Right. We've had a lot of interesting things that have happened here. The piddly things that are happening, like for example, when doctors order labs, the lab will call us and say, well, that's not reimbursed for us, so we're going to ask the doctor if they can order a different lab. And it's kind of odd because it's not like it'd be great if they had a simpler lab or a cheaper lab that would get the same result, but they don't. An oncologist will order a certain lab and they say, well, that's not reimbursed to the hospital, so we don't want to run that. We're going to talk to the doctor. So I don't know, how you can override a doctor who's, a specialty in oncology or in cardiology, but this is the way they're going to try to save their money. They're going to nickel and dime the patients. And that's why we have a lot more people out here on the line, is that even though we had support, many of them now have reached the point, well, why aren't we, they're endangering patient care. They're purposely working us short. They're hiding the staffing sheets. They're telling the staffing coordinators to short staff the unit against the law. So instead of a charge nurse not having a patient, they'll start charge nurses having patients. So that charge nurse isn't available to help another nurse who needs an aid, who needs some help.
Why aren't they being prosecuted?
Once again, we turn it into the state, but the wheels of the state move very slowly. We have reams of papers, of assignments despite objection, and endangering the patients. And it seems that, God forbid, it would take another tragedy like happened at Summit for something like this to happen, before something's done. And it's a very frightening environment to work in now. And it's filled with recriminations. For example, nurses are being told that they're getting out too late and you're charging this little overtime, but I have to make sure that everything is done in my charting. If their charting everything isn't done, they're written up. If they're late from work, if they're late getting out of work, they're written up. If they actually sign out and come back and finish their charting, they're fired for a HIPAA violation, meaning that they broke the patient's privacy because they checked out and came back to finish the work on the chart. So it's a no-win situation. They're making a very unhealthy environment for patient care, and they know they are. And yet they're just going to keep putting that pressure on. And they say if you don't like it, you can leave. So I've been here 20-some years. They're very frightening here. They're going to set back health care, or what I call it for them, they call it wealth care. They're going to set us back decades in taking care of patients.